To ensure that you understand the difference between teams and groups, I've added this insert which expands beyond what the course textbook did. So if you look at group or team effectiveness, you see that there's a number of things that affect the result of it, and it might be the composition, who were the people involved. There's some people that just aren't good team members or group members. There's the role each one takes. How well are they working cohesively together? Is it a big group, a small group? What are the goals? Is it a worthy goal? Is it something that's completely out of their reach? What's their decision-making approach? What is the style of the different individuals? And what stage are they in formation? And we'll talk a little bit about stages: forming, performing, storming, norming, and performing at the end of the slide deck. And so these are some of the key metrics that you do to measure the effectiveness of a group. So let's talk a little bit about dynamics, the relationship between the interactions of people with a common purpose. Definition of a group: two or more people. They have influence on each other. It might be informal, and they're striving to achieve a common purpose. So what are some different types of groups that you can think of? Well, there's certainly formal groups. A formal group would be the groups that we have in Canvas. Notice they're not called teams, they're called groups. There's informal groups where you get together after to maybe work on studying for the midterm or the final exam. There might be a task group where you've been assigned a certain task to get it done. There's interest groups. I go out biking with my friends for a common interest of health, and when we're really tired, it becomes more of a friendship as we spend time stopping and just chatting. Then there's a reference group, which according to Wikipedia is a concept referring to a group to which an individual or another group is compared. So sociologists call any group that individuals use as a standard for evaluating themselves and their own behavior as a reference group. So that's what that is. Oh, teams finally came into play here. So what's the definition of a team? A small formal group comprised of people working closely together, shared commitment to accomplish their goals. It's the we, all pulling together. That's important. So it's typically a small task group, i.e. getting one result done, common purpose, interdependent roles. No one has all the answers. They have complementary skills. One might be good at one thing and one at the other. There's no I in the word team. Now, types of teams, there's certainly project teams, there's functional teams where everyone, a group of software developers working to a common goal. There might be a cross-functional team, which would include marketing, manufacturing, sales, and maybe an operations person. Self-managed team is where you have no management as it sounds, and it might be self-defining as well, where some people got together and said, this needs to be done, why don't we just go do it, instead of waiting for the executive to tell us to do it. And there's virtual teams more and more becoming the norm in our industry, leading other industries and how these work. So let's compare. So a bunch of people, might be the proverbial bus stop, or people at a concert. I was at one at a play a couple of weeks ago with Carole King of the musical. Whereas the group would be more independent and dependent of each other. They're going to cooperate. People doing a bus tour during the day where they're a little more coordinated. They're going to talk to each other more. They're going to show up on time so that they can all leave together. The ushers at a concert are working as a group to get people seated, whereas a team is interdependent. They collaborate, work together. Maybe it's some people fixing that broken bus, or, and I like this example, the orchestra at a concert. I was at a 100% club once where it was in Tucson, and it was, we were all seated and we were waiting. We didn't know what to expect, and there was just a bunch of chairs ahead, and then people gradually walked in with different instruments, and they all started playing. As we took a look, some of them were from the office. I recognized some of them from headquarters. I went, I sure hope he's not playing that thing loud, because he can't play a song. And so he can't even hold a tune. And the message was for the company was that we need to be like an orchestra. We need to be a finely oiled machine that works together to get the results. So the types of teams, you certainly have experience with football teams, some of you with soccer as well. I'm not going to argue the difference between them. Cricket, track and field, basketball, and the effectiveness depends on, as we looked at earlier, the composition, how strong is your team, how much are they working together, all those sort of things. We haven't talked about this, but a normal thing that I talk about in senior project, and I will I think I'll start doing in the master's project, is the idea of developing a team to work together. And the first one is forming. And the forming might be, I just give you a list and say, here's the team, start to work together. And you don't know each other, you don't know who knows what, and you don't really trust them. Is this person going to sabotage how we're going to work together? And then you go down to the bottom left, which is the storming. There's still some distrust and knowledge hoarding. They're not giving you but they're starting to provide some information. You go over to norming, and hopefully you're well into this area now, where you're sharing your knowledge, you're collaborating, you're working together, and I hope there's at least one or two groups, and it's like music when it happens, is going through performing, where knowledge creation happens. The sum is greater than the individual parts, i.e. if there's 4 people in it, you do better than 4 individuals could have done. And the synergy together is fabulous. You come to these meetings energized to get a result. So what does style and stages of a group have to do with development? And let's take a look. So we've got forming, storming, norming here. Different leadership styles work better depending the stage of formation for the excuse me, I'm going to sneeze here. No, maybe I'm not. Style and stages of group formation can cover the forming, storming, norming, with different styles working better in one type of stage than another type. If you think of performing, it's going to be an area where it's more hands-off management. Everybody's doing their thing, whereas in the forming, the storming, you might need someone to be autocratic to say, here is what needs to be done. And so if you can tie in the style and see how some of the stages work, that'll help. The styles of the system development life cycle, think of the style for planning. Typically an introvert would do better in leading the planning. Analytics, by definition, would do very well in analysis. Whereas design is a different style. Implementation, more of an extrovert. Operations, more of getting things, let's get the project done. So these different styles might result in different people taking leadership positions depending on where the group is in formation. You see this with companies where some CEOs do well for a while and then the company outgrows their ability, or the industry changes and it goes from a great economy to a poor economy, and you need a different style to manage each stage. So I hope this opened your eyes and really expanded on the difference between teams and groups, and how styles can tie into the formation of groups and the SDLC.